Good morning. Let me introduce myself. I'm Marc Ruth. I'm a licensed practitioner for the Centers of Spiritual Living, and it is my honor and pleasure to address you today on this topic, the One Power. I know that I'm speaking to the choir here, especially after Monica gave a wonderful Science of Mind lesson and Kathy entertained you for the past 10 minutes. I could literally sit down and you would go home with a successful trip. However, I would like to share a few minutes of my insights as to how I came to this belief of one power and what it has done for me. The first thing that I stumbled across here at the center in 1998 was a wonderful quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind. And he said, "There is a power for good in the universe that you can use." And I just said, like Dr. Morrow, oh, to me, that's yummy. However, recently, I read a survey of about 1,000 Americans and all different age groups, thorough spread, religions, everything. And in this survey, they asked questions concerning people's beliefs. God, heaven, hell. And to me, today, importantly, Satan. Not just the concept of evil or a symbol of evil. They asked these people, do you believe in the person Satan? Now, I'm not talking about ex-spouses or their attorneys. But the survey said 57% believed in Satan. I sat back as a religious science practitioner. I said, how can that be? I'm stunned. And then I thought, well, wait a second. How did I get here? I was brought up in a dogmatic religion. Mine happened to be Catholicism. And in that, we were taught that there is a God, all-powerful, all-knowing, wonderful. But we were also taught that there was hell and the devil was trying to tempt me. So after a while, I just said, well, I can't believe that. I just can't buy into that. And then you take a look at the history of mankind. They always seem to have this thing about good and evil. You got the Egyptians with their gods and goddesses, some good, some bad, the Greeks, the Romans. So I said, okay, I'm going to get into Greek mythology. Well, that was a short trip because I couldn't pronounce their names. I couldn't remember who was married to who or who was having what children with gods or earthlings. It was all Greek to me, so I just couldn't believe in it. Okay. So after that, you take a look at what Moses had to say. And Moses said, Lord our God is the one God. And I said, okay. But the Old Testament told me that God could be vengeful or merciful, could be rewarding or punishing, could be loving or judgmental. And I said, boy, to me, that is the essence of duality. So, no, I can't believe in that either. So I finally made my way here in 1998, started taking Science of Mind classes. And the first thing I found out was Science of Mind. I just thought that term in and of itself was such a cool thing, Science of Mind. And then when they told me in the early going that it's the thing itself, I said, well, God, I've always been hung up over that term God because of all of those negative connotations from my dogmatic upbringing. I said, hey, I can buy into this one power, this thing itself. So as I learned about this philosophy, you hear the omnis, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. And I go, hey, yeah, I've heard that before. I can buy into that so far. But what sold me was the fact that I heard no evil power in opposition to that one power. So I said, okay, I think I can buy into this. There is not a spot where God is not. God is everywhere. And if that is true, then there is no room for evil. There is no room for opposition. Dr. Holmes said in the book, this thing called You, that we've been reading the past 6 weeks, he He said we need to eliminate the thought that good and evil are opposing entities. There is only one life principle. So I said, okay, Yoda, you're wrong. There is no dark side of the Force. I now have my grounded belief. I fully believe there is the one power. So, I sit back and I said, well, that's wonderful to have this full-founded, grounded belief. But then I said, well, what good is that? What is that doing for me? And I then said, okay, let's go to Dr. Ernest Holmes again. There is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. Aha! I should say eureka, but that's a Greek term. You can use it. That is the key. Now, back in the 1970s, if we can remember back that far, there was a comedian called Flip Wilson who had a character, and that character always said, well, the devil made me do it. I go, wow, that is the epitome of non-personal responsibility. Now, I'm sure from time to time, we would all love to be able to say, the devil made me do it. But in talking in terms of personal responsibility, I turn to Stephen Covey. He is the man who wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in there, he said, there is a choice that you get to make between action and reaction. Choice. A lot of times we like to refer to it here in Science of Mind as free will. So something happens, and you immediately respond with, well, he made me angry. Or you have the circumstances, fate is against me. Well, now you have a victim mentality. So as we continue on the Steve Covey thought, if we have the ability to choose that in between action and reaction, perhaps that's why we got advice from our parents. Before you say anything after you're angry, count to 10. Or you 100. Well, maybe you 1,000. It's good advice because it enables us to choose how we want to react. Now, Ernest Holmes, he also got involved with this concept. And it's once again back to the one power. And I said, well, this is very interesting because I believe the one power on the basis that there can be nothing else in the universe. And so Ernest takes this teaching and he says, if we are spirit incarnated and we demonstrate, then what are we disturbed about appearances? If from the standpoint of spirit, there is nothing there to oppose it. So that means those appearances and conditions, who's giving them power? We've already been talking that there is no power. We give those appearances and those conditions power through our belief and our thought. Now, in Ernest Holmes, he wanted to talk about the fact that, as you have faith-filled responses or fear-based responses, that's going to determine how you are demonstrating and manifesting. Now, I have to admit that before I came here in 1998, I had some fear-based thinking. Now, I'm not talking about my fear of snakes, my fear of bugs, my fear of heights. I'm talking about the big one, the fear of dying. I know in the list it's number 1, public speaking is number 2, but I'll talk about public speaking another day. As far as dying, maybe it was that lingering hell and damnation stuff that I had learned, but I figured, man, this can't have anything to do with me being an attorney, and yet I'm hearing damnation an awful lot. So I go, well, I just don't know what's going to happen to me. I just don't know what's going to happen. Is there anything? Isn't there? Or do I buy the big one? I was concerned. I was worried. I had fear. And then with this belief that we've been talking about, the one power, I said, wait a second. As I now take a look at my environment in the world, I understand and I can see that there are millions and millions of galaxies, that this universe is continually expanding. If that one power is that awesome, what do I have to worry about dying? I mean, if my worry is the negative of a future event, isn't our belief the expectancy of a good event? So if the one power is that powerful, and I just look at the universe, I just look at people, I just look at nature, and I go, one power, you can take this immortal soul and you can do with it what you wish. Not that I want to check out real soon, but I have no fear of it nonetheless. So we come to the point of view, how are we going to choose to act? Are we going to choose from a fear-filled basis, or are we going to choose from a faith-filled basis? And that is our dilemma. Now, Dr. Holmes did say in this thing called You, are you preparing to die, or are you preparing to live? So we have to go back, and you have to ask yourself during the week, when I make these choices on how to respond, am I responding from a faith-based, or am I responding from a fear-based? You must remember the yummy Ernest Holmes quote. I'm not going to give you the whole thing, but just the last part. And you can use it. The question, well, why doesn't everyone use it? I just don't know the answer to that one. It beats the devil out of me.
Our services are at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and childcare is available. Please join us. If you enjoy these messages and would like to make a donation to our center, please visit our website at redondocsl.org. Thank you for your support of this ministry.